Welcome back, and joining me for a closer look of the day's trading session is Cremen from Aviceworx. Thank you for your time, Caroline. Yeah, it is the day before D-Day, and I was actually looking at the rand. Quite concerning that it's weakened by about 2.5% on the day, firmly now above that 18 rand level against the US dollar. Are these tariff jitters?
Yes, I think it's definitely part of that. I think, Donald Trump has, U-turned so many times.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the strength in the market, just generally, not only in the rand, but in other emerging markets, was possibly due to the fact that people kind of thought that he'd turn around again and there'd be another delay and another delay. And as at, 6 o'clock South African time, there's no delay, but maybe he's going to wake up, or maybe at 10 o'clock tonight their time. He might change his mind, but I think people he's cutting it very fine this time, and hence the jitters.
Yeah. I wonder if the experts, including you, are going to sleep tonight. Because, of course, as you say, we could get some news out maybe at around midnight, but we shall see. Well, let's get on to monetary policy decisions. I know that obviously the Fed kept them unchanged yesterday. I'm not really going to go into that, but I actually want to delve deeper into the SARB's interest rate decision of cutting by 25 basis points. And actually, that was a unanimous decision. Was all the data pointing to this decision?
Yes, I think definitely so. And I think it's nice to know that the one thing we're doing well in South Africa is that our central bank is a little bit more well-behaved and not at odds with government as the US is. So we've got that in our favor. I think what was also quite interesting about, the discussion about the SARB is that new inflation target is now kind of looking more like 3% in 2026. So it's going to be a gradual movement down there. And I think that's going to create a lot of happiness if people thought that maybe the SARB was going to be a little bit more aggressive about that and probably, decrease interest rates a little bit slower. So good all in all. But also coming out of that, very interesting, they've downgraded our GDP forecast. Not a lot. I mean, it was 1%. They've come down to 0.9%. And they cite tariffs for that. No, those tariffs have not yet been implemented.
Yeah.
So they're getting a little bit ahead of the curve. Maybe it's going to be better. Maybe it's going to be worse. Maybe there'll be no tariffs. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. It is a wait and see game at this point. Well, something that investors do not wait on is ABN Bever was actually the biggest loser on the JSE today. The last time I checked, that share had nosedived by more than 11%. I don't know if it's because people aren't drinking alcohol, but what was interesting is that the market held on to the volume miss, even though we did have revenue and profit actually beating on estimates. Why?
Yeah, so the revenue is actually down to, it beat, but it wasn't great. And their volumes, if you look at their volumes, down 1.9%.
Yeah.
But I think what's very significant about ABN AMRO is where those volumes were down, because, Latin America was mixed. It tends to be a little bit mixed. Brazil was a bit slow. And, the EU was flat. They're gaining market share there. But I think what was kind of worrying for people is that the China volume was down 7.2%.
Yeah.
Now, that's certainly going to be an area where they actually would want to be expecting growth. And for you to see such a massive volume change, in such a big, significant market is a little bit worrying. And so, yes, so first of all, you're quite correct. There are demographic aspects to this. People, especially the youngsters, are drinking less alcohol. But then on the other hand, what caused such a sharp turnaround in China, and that needs to be addressed as well. Is it continuous, or is it just a once-off?
All right. Well, let's get into another sin stock. And actually, the market clearly a little bit pleased by this one. The stock was up about 2%, and that is British American Tobacco. The revenue was down there. They talk about currency headwinds, but see improvement in a lot of metrics. Just talk to me about that, and particularly as they're continuing with their share buyback program.
Yeah, it's interesting. So it's always been a very good dividend payer as well. So you're getting the uptick from the share buyback as well. So yes, there's not much you can do about the currency headwinds. I think you're going to see this with a lot of reporting. Some people are going to, be beneficiaries of a weaker dollar, and some are going to not be beneficiaries. So revenue down, operating profit up, and they are seeing a recovery in USA volumes. And I think people kind of, where you lose a little bit from the currency, you're getting an uptick in volumes.
Okay.
And also still the smokeless product, which is now 19% of their base, still growing very nicely. So it wasn't a spectacular result, but it could have been a disaster, and it wasn't. And I think people are just happy about that.
Yeah. Well, people maybe seeing a disaster on Mondi because that stock also nosediving over 10% today. The company posted interim results. Also, their revenue up 5%, but that's really where the growth ended. We had double-digit declines in the bottom line. Is the market just seeing stormy clouds here?
I think the problem with Mondi, and it really has had a very, very rough time since the Russian invasion of Ukraine, because, as you recall, they had quite a large subsidiary in Russia, and then they had to carry that. They couldn't offload it for a while. And then they finally offloaded it, and everyone got a nice special dividend from that. And I think people kind of expected, certainly investors like me, that after that point, the company is now, can just carry on doing business, and there's going to be no more unpleasant surprises. And I think maybe people were just a little bit more optimistic about the company than they should have been, because, while the packaging sector obviously is doing well, you spend a lot of packaging, everyone buys online a lot more now. It is the, it's the uncoated fine paper. Well, one would probably expect that would be down, but I think it's just disappointment. After all the issues it's had, you want to see the business actually start to be a bit more of a steady eddy, and these just weren't the result. And I think the share price paid, the price, it's reflecting the price.
Yeah. All right. Well, Caroline, something that you're not disappointed in today. Let's get to your stock pick quickly.
Yes, my stock pick is Workday. So this is a software application company. Now, if you're going to go software application companies, you can go broad markets like a Microsoft or a SAP, which kind of do everything. But really what Workday does is it kind of focuses on the HR, the human capital sector in companies. It is a global business. It operates in about 175 different companies, and its clients are 60% of the Fortune 500. So very, very wide client base. It's extremely cash generative. This is very sticky business, as you can imagine. If you put if you're a big company and you're going to invest software in your human capital business, you're not going to change it very, very fast. And these are definitely, they've got a very good product. They've got a very good AI service. It's got good revenue growth. And unlike a lot of software companies or tech companies generally, it's actually down 10% year to date, despite the fact that it has had a revenue revenue beat, or revenue miss. So I think, as kind of the issues in the market and all the volatility dies down, it's a very, very nice investment for long-term, nice growth company.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your insights today, Caroline. Really appreciate it. That was Caroline Cremen from Aviceworx.